powered by Riverside FM.
And you're listening to the 2400 Block Podcast with Jonnyroobs.
Hey, John Lou Diamond Phillips here. LDP in the house. How you doing, brother?
Hey everyone, welcome to a fresh episode of the 2400 Block Podcast. It's Jonnyroobs in the pod. Well, for today, I will be John the Phenomenon, all thanks to my featured guest here, who came up with that nickname for me many years ago, and he is no stranger to the pro wrestling world. He is currently featured on Impact Wrestling, which is shown on Access TV, and he's also a reality TV star who has appeared on The Bachelorette, and also once a Chippendale dancer too. Okay, we'll get to that and many more. All right, I present to you guys the one and only Kenny Lane, also known to the world as Kenny King. Welcome to the show. How are you feeling today?
That was a hell of an intro, John. I need to hire you as my PR guy.
Well, thanks for taking the time to join me here. Bro, it's just so good to see you again. You know, we've come a long way since we last saw each other in 2008.
Yeah, man, it's been a very, very long time, bro. Very long time. It's crazy.
Yeah, and I would like to let you guys know that me and Kenny go way back. I mean, we've had a history and that we have maintained contact throughout the years. I'm very grateful for that. And last time we saw each other in person was when we worked at that timeshare resort in Kissimmee, Florida, off the 192. And I still remember that food run that we did for the lady workers there because we were indeed the classy gentlemen, right?
Yes. The Orange Lake. Shout out to Orange Lake Resorts on 192 in Orlando.
Yeah, and while I'm at it, I want to give a special shout out to LaShonda, Omira, Carmen, Awilda, Maggie, Vanessa, Apri, Candace, Danette, Indira, Perina, Wendy, and many more of the ladies out there I can't name who did work there at one point or still are. And so, yeah, much love goes out to all of them.
I haven't heard of some of those names in a long time. Shout out to all those contracts. Shout out to the contracts ladies. They were the best for sure.
Oh, yeah. All right. So you're ready for this Q&A session here?
Yeah, man. Let's get to it.
All right. Take us back to your childhood, Kenny. What was it like growing up in your household?
Well, that's an interesting question. That's one that I don't think I've had on a podcast before. So I grew up in New York City, Queens. Had a mom, a dad, an older sister. Very close family. My father's side is from Guyana, so we have very, very close knit family. Always aunts and uncles and cousins and whatnot around. Then we moved to Florida. Florida's a little different, but it was always like, we had a very close knit family. We were always, family was very important. So like that was just always one of the things to look forward to is like events like, weddings or like Thanksgiving or Christmases or stuff like that. So that's yeah, man. Good question.
So were you in Orlando at the time or you're in like Dr. Phillips? I know you went to Dr. Phillips High School.
Yeah, I went to so when I went to Orlando, that's when I went to Dr. Phillips High School. Shout out to DP, DP, which is the only high school that's right across the street from an amusement park. Dr. Phillips High School is on Turkey Lake Road. On the other side is Universal Studios and Islands of Adventure. So that was fun in high school, having Universal ID and being like, "Do I want to go to school today?" Nah, I'm going over.
You were set.
Yeah, it was all right.
Yeah. So, what got you interested in pro wrestling? Who did you consider to be your role models back then?
Oh man, see, I've loved pro wrestling for a long time. I can remember in New York getting a VHS tape with some of my cousins, and we were watching like some pro wrestling. And Demolition was like my favorite squad way back when, and it was just one of those things where I just loved everything about it: the pageantry, the athleticism, the aggression. So way before I got anything had anything to do with pro wrestling, I was a pro wrestling fan. Ravishing Rick Rude, Mr. Perfect, Bret Hart, those guys. A little bit, a little more contemporary, like guys like The Rock and Chris Jericho and Rob Van Dam and Jerry Lynn. Like those were the guys that I was really after, like growing up.
Wow. Did you actually attend one of those pro wrestling events, WWF or WCW at the time?
Oh man, I've been a couple of them. Excuse me, I
Oh
don't know
yeah.
where I'm getting allergies from, but I went to a couple of them as kids. Like I can remember going to like events with my dad in Madison Square Garden. I remember going to Royal Rumble '92 or '93, whichever one was in Orlando. I remember going to that one. So I went to quite a few of actual like WWE live events growing up.
Oh, that's great. And I know part of your humble beginnings as a pro wrestler comes from the reality TV show Tough Enough. You appeared on season 2 and you were one of the finalists. What was that experience like?
Well, I mean, I never really wanted to be a pro wrestler. I just liked it, right? So it was like
Uh-huh.
one of the, like back in the days. It's not like today where you have the internet and if you can just type up where pro wrestling schools. It was kind of unheard of. Like you had to know somebody, and um, so I just remember watching it the first season in my dorm room. Like, man, I can do that. Those guys aren't even athletes. Like, I know I can do that. And then I ended up moving to Vegas, and it just kind of, as fate would happen, like that's where the auditions were, and I remember sending in the
Hmm.
tape, getting the tape back, and still really not having any idea what I was getting myself into. I just knew that yeah, I was an athlete, I was physical, like I wasn't worried about like any part of that, but like um, I can remember like my first and second week being like, damn, there's just so much more to this than I had any idea about. Like you think it's just, oh, guys in the ring and hitting each other and
Yeah.
whatever. But, like when you really break down what makes good pro wrestling, right? Anybody can just get in the ring and do whatever. But when you think about what makes a good pro wrestling, there's a lot to it. There's a whole lot to it, and there's a lot that goes into that you would have no idea about unless you were in the business.
Mm. Okay. Of all the trainers that were on Tough Enough, as well as a few more that mentored you on the independent circuit, which one was the most beneficial to your pro wrestling career?
I can't really say that any one of them was more beneficial than the other.
Hmm.
I just has been blessed to have like the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers or like the Voltron of wrestling training. With Tough Enough, I got Al Snow and Chavo Guerrero and Bob Holly and Ivory, and each one of those people by themselves would be an amazing trainer. Like just the wealth of knowledge that each one of those individual performers has, but to get them all together and to be able to get bits and pieces from each one of them, and then to go on the independents and then be like mentored by guys like Scott Casey. And like I tell my students now, like one of the reasons why I'm able to cut a promo is because I had to be tortured by Nick Bockwinkel. Like we'd cut promos and he'd give us, we'd do them old school like Mean Gene style. He'd be the host and I'd be the
Uh-huh.
the interviewer, and he'd give you like 15, 10 seconds. And if it was not good, he'd sort of like, whoa, doesn't that suck? We're going to try that again when I don't want to kill myself. And just like whatever you would just not be, he would be like a tough coach. So
Yeah.
um, I'm just blessed. I'm lucky to be able to uh, be mentored by the people that at that young stage in the business, to be mentored by the people that I was able to be mentored by.
Let's see. Awesome. By the way, when you did those promos, were you usually good on the first try?
No, oh God, no.
No.
I mean, my acting background had given me an idea of how to deliver lines and how to get certain points across. But there's a thing about a wrestling promo that you have to learn, and you have to know who you are first as a pro wrestler and as a character. Um, Otherwise, you're just saying random stuff and it doesn't really fit. So once you kind of have a good grasp of that, and it takes a while. It takes everybody a while to kind of get it. But once I got it, I got it. So, and then promos just kind of came. That was just
Uh-huh.
part of my skill set. And I had to build them, but it just became part of my skill set after that.
Great. So after Tough Enough, where did you go next?
After Tough Enough, I just went on the independents. I was working timeshare jobs to support my wrestling habit, and I was just trying to get my name out there. Well, because the thing about Tough Enough was there was a lot of, so I was on the second season, and the first season there was a lot of people that had halfway trained. Shout out to Raising Canes, halfway trained, and still going out on the independents, and then they sucked and they just weren't good. And it was one of those things where people were getting clowned for going out and just not being good. So I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to have that be part of what people thought about me when they thought about pro wrestling.
Hmm.
So I went to like that school. I trained for a year. We did shows and everything. Like I trained for
Oh
a
wow.
year before I took any independent actual like bookings for money, because there was a bunch of people like whose names I won't name, but there was a bunch of names who just uh, they just weren't good, and they would kind of mess up the tough enough names. So I didn't want to be that guy. I wanted to be, fully established before I started doing this as a professional.
Hmm. You know, when I worked with you at the timeshare resort, how often in a week did you have to wrestle?
Man, at that time it was not very often, right? Like,
Hmm.
I was just getting started at Ring of Honor back then,
Oh.
and I would do independence. So like, I would wrestle like every weekend, basically.
Uh,
Um, it would every other weekend. Like, I would find some independent booking to take, or like if I would, in the very beginning of Ring of Honor, I wasn't getting flown out very often, so
yeah.
I would try to make at least 1 or 2 weekends a month wrestling at that point.
Great. Now, do you recall your first pro wrestling match in front of a live audience? You remember your very first match? Were you
Yes, I do.
nervous?
Yeah, I mean, I still get nervous now. Like it's
Hmm.
a performance thing, but I was very nervous. It was a 6 man. It was here in Las Vegas. It was myself, a guy named Super Butcher, and a guy named Reno Tafuli, who's a third cousin of the Fatus,
Oh.
and against a guy named Rush, who was the owner of the school, Matt Major Maniac. Oh no, I take that back. It was me. Uh, Super Butcher was a real big guy, and
Uh-huh.
Jimmy Snuka Jr., who was Deuce, I think it was
Oh.
Deuce and Domino. I think he was Deuce. It was one of
Hmm.
those. Cliff Compton was Domino. Jimmy's Jr. was Deuce. So Deuce from Deuce and Domino, those guys. Um, he was in my first match. It was a 6 man, and I just
Hmm.
remember being like, "This is crazy. I dig this. Like this is." And then I remember sitting at Denny's. I know exactly which one. It was a Denny's on Tropicana in Decatur, right over where I go to work out, even still. Um, and I'm sitting at a table, like the first of many, many of these after show Denny's, especially like in the Independence. There's only one thing open after the show, so you got to get to Denny's.
Yeah, 24
And I
hours.
just remember sitting there, like looking around at the table, and some of the people have been doing it way longer than I am. Some of them were just breaking in just like me. But I was looking at the table, like, damn, this is like I'm involved in something now. Like this is crazy. Like this, I'm actually doing this, and I never forgot that, and I don't think I ever will.
Now, your first match, was that in an arena, in a gym, or a bar or something? Because
Oh
some of these
hell no.
matches can be held anywhere.
Yeah, I mean, no. I didn't get to arenas for a little while.
Hmm.
So this was the place that I trained. So I went to a place called the Las Vegas Pro Wrestling Academy, and they
Uh-huh.
had a promotion called the UPW, or Ultimate Pro Wrestling, attached to it. So we would do shows in the same warehouse that we trained. It was a warehouse right behind the Rio casino and hotel. Um, there were maybe it sat on a really, really, really packed 40 people. It was, you know what I mean? It was not as very humble beginnings. Um, but yeah, man, like we'd go, whether it was cold, sometimes it'd get freezing. Sometimes in the summer it would be like baking hot in there. But we had our faithful 20, 25. And sometimes, like I said, we get to 40, 45 people. I'm like, yeah, man, we packed the house. But yeah, uh, that's just part of the story. Everybody's got their how they broke in and what it was when they first started. I mean, going from stuff like that to a sold out Madison Square Garden. It's that's the journey, right? That's the
Yeah.
journey.
Wow. When I knew you, you were just in your, I think, 6th year. Now you're in your 21 years. Wow. How
Yeah,
much
6 years.
changed?
6 years.
That's amazing. By the way, I see you have all these nicknames: the Natural, Pretty Boy Pitbull, the King of the Night, the Championship Chairman, the Chairman of Championships. Which was the best one for you? You think?
Oh, the one that's consistently stuck has been the Pretty Boy Pitbull. I think that's the one that's the beginning, and I think that's the one I'll take with me to the end.
Oh, awesome. See, I don't have a chance to watch Impact because I have YouTube TV and they don't have Access TV, and I'm pissed off. But I do keep an eye on what's happening on Impact by way of YouTube, and that's when I saw your match there with Speedball guy. I forgot his
Yeah, yeah,
name.
it was a really good match. It was really unique. Um,
Yeah,
I was really proud of that.
man. I mean, just to see you guys just go to fall out of the ring, I'm like, oh my goodness, that really had me, you know.
Yeah, man,
I mean,
it's one of those things where it's like, it's a specialty match type. So
yeah.
there's a lot of risk involved. There's a lot of things that can go wrong. You kind of have to just you got to give a little bit more in those kind of matches, and just kind of hope things work out. So I'm glad it did, though.
You know, although you did lose that by way of knockout, you guys absolutely killed it. And any chance we'll see you guys go at it again in the future, maybe?
If I see Speedball again, I'll probably hit him with my car. So we'll see how it goes.
I hear that, man. All right. If you can name these right off the bat, what wrestling promotions were you involved in?
Major ones or all ones?
Various ones, whether it's independent or the
Uh,
big names.
well,
Okay.
Impact, Ring of Honor,
Mm-hmm.
New Japan Pro Wrestling, um, CMLL down in Mexico, The Crash in Mexico, Pro Wrestling Chaos in Wales and the UK, Pro Wrestling, what is it, Rev Pro in the UK. Uh, as far as independents, Pro Wrestling Guerrilla here in the States, FIP, Full Impact Pro in the States. God, all kinds of Future Stars of Wrestling. Now like West Coast Pro and in San Francisco. Uh, I think I'm gonna go work for AAW in Illinois here pretty soon. So like the
That's a
independent links.
lot.
Yeah,
That is
I've
a
worked
lot.
for, and I'm probably, because I didn't work independence for like 6 or 7 years because I was with Impact and with Ring of Honor, and I didn't. I was, I was exclusive. So
Yeah. Okay. All right. Let's talk about Chippendales. Okay, we all know what that is. The ladies out there definitely know what that is. Now, did someone coax you into doing that gig? I mean, that must have
well,
took a lot of convincing.
it did. So I used to. Years and years and years ago, I was roommates. Well, he wasn't my roommate. He was kind of living on my couch, but he was a guy that I've known for a long time. He's a singer. He's actually a really talented guy. He wrote 3 or 4 songs on the No String Attached album on the NSYNC, on the NSYNC like
Oh,
multi platinum. So he's a real talented dude, a real talented
okay.
singer. So, but he was the singer for the Chippendales tour in Europe. And he kept saying, "Hey man, do you want to go on tour in Europe and Chippendales?" I'm like, "Yeah, no, cool. That's not what I'm trying to do." So, well, thanks anyway. And he would go and come back and be like, "Hey bro, you might want to do this." And I'm like, "Yeah, no, still good." Uh, so one day was his birthday, and he was like, "Hey man, let's go over to the Chippendale show in Vegas." And I was like,
Uh-huh.
"Bro, if I don't want to do the show, like, why do I want to? I definitely don't want to watch it. Like, what do we banana hammocks and all that, like that oil? That's not my thing, right?" So, so it was his birthday, so he kept telling me. So I was like, "All right, fine, let's go." Right, and then I was like, so I got to the show. It was the theater in Vegas holds about 400 or 500 women, and I'm looking around. I'm like, huh, there's about 400 or 500 women here. Um, and my idea of what it was is like dudes on stage and lap dances and all that. And it completely is different. It was all choreographed, stage choreography, like set changes, lights. It was like a Vegas. It was a Vegas show. It wasn't really
Uh-huh.
what you think about. Like when you think about Magic Mike, you think about like tips and dollar bills and all that. And it ain't like that at all. It's very much like a Cirque du Soleil show, just with dudes that dance and take their shirts off. Um, so after I saw that, I was like, oh, yeah, I think I want to do this. So I started doing the European tour, and my very first show was at Chippendale. Was in Berlin. I was at the Berlin Arena or some arena in Berlin in front of like 7,000 women. And at that point, I hadn't wrestled in front of 7,000 people, so I was like, "Whoa, this is crazy. And I did the world tours. We did 17 or 18 cities in Europe,
Uh huh.
from Germany to Italy to Slovenia, Prague, or Vienna, wherever that is. Yeah, so a bunch of different cities. So but then I was kind of done with it for a while, and then I moved back to Vegas. And then, so the Vegas show is like, it's a lot different because it's a seniority thing. Like, you have to die or get fired to be in the Vegas show. And eventually I worked my way into the Vegas show, and I worked there until 2015 when I hung up my cuffs and collars.
Mm. Now, during your Chippendales thing, did anyone recognize you? They're like, "Yo, that's Kenny King, the wrestler." No.
Yeah, well, I was working at Chippendales Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I was
Mm.
flying from Vegas to Orlando Wednesday night to do live Impact on Thursdays. Do live Impact Thursdays, do show Friday, and sometimes we do show Saturday, and then I fly back to Vegas and work at Chippendales on Sunday. So I was they were I was very doing both, and yeah,
Wow.
lots of people were like, "Oh my God, I love you, you're a great wrestler." So it was a cool little crossover.
Oh, that's cool, man. I don't know how you did it, but you did
Me
well, man.
neither. Me neither. But it did get done.
All right. Can I have to be honest with you? Due to the busy things going on in my life, I didn't have time to watch TV as often. And so I wasn't able to see you on the Bachelorette reality TV show. I did
That's okay.
see a commercial and saw you. I missed out though. And how did you fare out of all the male contestants vying for the Bachelorette herself? That is Rachel Lindsay, if I remember.
I mean, I think it was 30 guys to start, and I was like the ninth one.
Oh,
I lasted to like the ninth, so I was the number nine, I think.
uh huh.
And then, so I mean, it was a great experience. I really enjoyed getting to know Rachel and getting to know like really my castmates. There's all these years later, we still keep in touch. We still have a group chat. We still
That's
keep up
great.
with each other. So it was a great experience. The fan base of The Bachelor and The Bachelorette is as rabid and crazy and dedicated and loyal as pro wrestling is. So it was kind of an easy switch, but it was definitely a very interesting experience.
Great, man. You're versatile in everything. Um, what do you like doing on your spare time? I know you've done all those things, but what do you like doing on your spare time? What makes Kenny King, interested? Like
Man, I
when
like
it
to
when it comes to
chill.
all that other stuff, huh?
I like to chill, man. Like I
Yeah.
travel so much. I'm always in the airport. I'm always on an airplane. I like to, I like my place. I like my space. Things that I do daily. I work out. I like to cook. I like yoga, movies.
Uh huh.
You know what I mean? Like while I play video games to decompress. Um, if I'm home and I want to do some stuff, like always down for live music. I like to go to concerts. I like to go find, I'm a big eater, so I like to eat, so, new restaurants, new food. That's always up my alley. So, just stuff that has nothing to do with pro wrestling. Usually, is my favorite stuff to do.
Yeah. By the way, my girlfriend ate at a restaurant in Dr. Phillips. It was a seafood restaurant, and she loved it so much. Whatever she was eating at the time.
Hmm.
I forgot the name of the restaurant, so I just wanted to bring that up to you, but I forgot the name.
Yeah, it's my Dr. Phillips days are quite in the past. I'm not sure what. I'm sure every time I go, there's like three or four new restaurants. So I'm sure
Yeah.
she had a great time.
Yeah. So, okay, aside from your duties in the ring, you are beyond a shadow of a doubt a super dad, and it's good to see your daughter Mackenzie finally growing up from the little girl she was to the young lady she is now. And that being said, I would like to say to you personally and to congratulate you on doing a good job raising her well. She has a bright future ahead. Thanks to you. You truly deserve all the praise, bro.
Oh, well, thank you, man. I mean, only one of us is happy to see her grow up.
Yeah.
I'd like to keep her at 8 years old for like 3 or 4 more years, but
Uh
that ain't
huh.
happening. That ain't happening. But no, I'm really blessed, man. She's an amazing kid. She's very smart, very kind,
Uh huh.
very aware of her situation, her circumstances, and just who she is as a person. And I think that's amazing. And I'm just in awe. I'm in awe to listen to her and to watch her grow into this young lady. It's been a beautiful thing.
Great. And God bless you all always.
Thank you, man.
Um, During your 21 years in pro wrestling now, who did you like working with in the ring?
Oh man, I've been blessed to really work with some just amazing pro wrestlers. I mean, I've been in the ring with guys like Seth Rollins, guys like Will Ospreay, guys
Mm-hmm.
like Kevin Owens, guys like the Young Bucks. Um, I've just been, my career. Have an amazing, pretty much a who's who of the entire like past, present, and future of pro wrestling. I think I've been in the ring with, some of the things that stuck out to me. Getting the opportunity to wrestle Jerry Lynn. Jerry Lynn, like I said, was a guy who was very, very, very influential to me as a young Kenny Lane before there was a Kenny King. Rob Van Dam, getting to beat Rob Van Dam for the X Division Championship was like a 2-for-1 in my brain because Rob Van Dam and Jerry Lynn's matches were just the stuff, right? Like just everything
Yeah.
that I used, everything about pro wrestling, and then the X Division. I remember just watching that as it was being as a young pro wrestler, being like, oh man, I'm gonna be able to compete in the X Division. So being able to win the X Division championship from a guy like Rob Van Dam is just like a career. It's like a career milestone for
Yeah.
sure. And then I mean, just being able to wrestle guys like I've wrestled like legends like those guys are legends, but I went to Mexico and wrestled guys like Ultimo Guerrero and Atlantis, like Atlantis Senior and Negro Casas, and I've been in the ring with Minoru Suzuki and Jushin Thunder Liger. Like I mean, just amazing names, and that I'm absolutely just honored to be able to even share the ring with.
Man, that actually led me to this next question here. I want to ask you: of all the matches that you've had so far, which one truly defined your work resume?
I mean, let's put those two up there: Rob Van Dam, Jerry Lynn, um, Jushin Thunder Liger, Hangman Adam Page, Cody Rhodes. These are all. I've got. We beat the world's greatest tag team, Shelton Benjamin, and Charlie Haas for the Ring of Honor World Tag Team titles. Any match, any match that I got with the Briscoes, Mark and Jay Briscoe were the greatest tag team
Yeah.
ever. No matter what, like they're the greatest. In my opinion, they're the greatest tag team that's like ever lived. So, I would just be able to just step in the ring with them, and I've had multiple epic clashes with them, ladder war with the Briscoes, like over the tag championship. So, I mean, the kid's discography is pretty extensive.
Oh man. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. All right. So, wow. Where do you see yourself 5 to 10 years from now? Will you still be wrestling past your prime like Chris Jericho, Jeff Jarrett, Too Cold Scorpio, Tommy Dreamer, Sting, Billy Gunn, Scott Steiner?
I don't think so. I don't think so. I think the next 3 to 5 years will probably see the end of Kenny King's in ring
Mm-hmm.
career. Um, I'm still wrestling at a very high level right now, but I don't want to.
Uh-huh.
I don't want to. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just in that motion now of just looking for things to transition, looking like where my passion is, where my heart's at. What are the things that I want to do? I've been blessed to be in wrestling 22 years, by the way.
Oh, okay.
November makes
22
20.
years, folks.
Yeah.
Okay.
November actually makes 20. November makes 22. Because
Okay.
2003, yeah. November makes 22. So you're right. But um, not a lot of guys get 22 years of pro wrestling. So I feel like I've been extremely blessed to be able to do so at a high level, to be able to do so where I've been a name for over half my career.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, hopefully something cool is next. We'll see.
Maybe something in the entertainment industry, maybe behind the scenes.
I mean, I'm an entertainment guy, so it's something. So whatever's next is
Yeah.
probably going to be in front of the camera. So
Oh,
we'll
awesome.
see.
And lastly, this one's for the fans. Coming off the heels from your match with the legend Tommy Dreamer, in which the Impact Wrestling digital media title was on the line at Victory Road, can you tell your loyal fan base what's next for Kenny King?
Uh, we're gonna find a way to get our justice back. If you watch the match, you watched everybody and their mama come out to try to stop Kenny King, and the fact that that was even allowed to happen is just indicative of what goes on in Impact. So, just keep watching. I'm really hot right now, and the next thing I do will probably be the best thing I do.
Cool. Because, man, it sucks you lost that night because it would have been awesome for you to have shown that belt in all its glory right here on the show tonight.
Yeah, it would have been nice. I agree.
Yeah. All right. We have reached the end of this episode. Thanks so much, Kenny, for your time in making an appearance and having to answer all my questions here.
Anytime. Anything for you, John.